You're listening to the Law of Attraction Radio Network.
The secret to well-being is discovering the power that is your birthright, the power to create a happier, healthier life, drawn from our own vast internal resources. Join Jules and her guests as they gently guide you to shift your perspective from the familiar negative to the divinely connected, a place that will not only positively impact your world, but possibly shift the planet. It's all right here on Law of Attraction Talk Radio.
Well, welcome to Law of Attraction Talk Radio. I'm Jules from beautiful Southern California, and I'm so glad you could be with us because tonight you are going to learn how to be effing amazing. We have got Deborah Lucero on with us, and she just wrote the book, Be Effing Amazing. And that's not the right word, but you get the general drift of it. It's amazing that you can literally change your life just by changing your thoughts and attitude. And Deborah has written a book on how she did it in order to help so many other people. There is so much good information in this book, and I know you're going to enjoy the show tonight. You're going to enjoy her and everything she has to tell you. It's a really, really great time for you to understand what is going on within that head and body of yours so that you can once again be effing amazing, which you already are. You're just not seeing it. So anyway, that is what the show is about tonight. But before we get that going, I want to talk about the cruise a little bit. This is going to be an amazing cruise. Not only are we going out of New Orleans, but we are going to my favorite place, Cozumel, and we're going to Yucatan. It's called a city, Progreso. And we are going to have tremendous workshops in between the times that we're actually at the port. You are going to learn so much. You're going to be in that high vibrational state of which you are going to feel that place, that frequency in which you can manifest anything you want. And that's what this cruise is all about. So fly into New Orleans and then hop on the ship, and we are going to have the time of our lives. I enjoyed this so much. And you know, the people that I first went on our very first cruise way back in 2007, do you know I still talk to those people? They're still good friends of mine, every single one of them. So come and get to know all of the speakers personally, have dinner with them. And listen, here's the law of attraction. If you're supposed to be on this cruise, you will be. All you have to do is say, I am willing, come on. Show me how to do it. And then get out of the way and let it happen. That's all it takes. If you're willing to do that and step out of the day-to-day life cycle that you're in and willing to raise your vibration to a higher level, oh my gosh, you're going to be on this cruise. Oh, you're going to love it. So anyway, I want you to go to loaradionetwork.com, fill out this the form on the LOA cruise site within LOA Radio Network. Fill it all out. Check out our speakers. They're all phenomenal. They're all flying in from all over the world. And then sign up. Put your deposit in. Now, final payment date is February 5th. But that doesn't mean that you can't sign up and pay in full after February 5th. You have up till about March 15th. And you can still get some great rates. So don't let time stop you. But you do want to do it before March 15th. If you need a roommate, no problem. We've got them waiting for you. We book them by the sex and the age. That's all you need to know. will find you a lifelong friend, a like-minded friend that you're going to absolutely adore. So come along with us April 8th through the 13th. Now, let's go on with this wonderful commercial about our magazine and a few other things, and then we'll be right back with Deborah Lucero.
It's here, it's hot, and it's a must read. It's the science behind The Law of Attraction magazine. Every issue brings you great articles and in-depth how-tos from all your favorite Law of Attraction experts, authors, scientists, and medical professionals. Go to lawofattractionmagazine.net. That's lawofattractionmagazine.net.
Are you ready for a healthy 2019? Well, if you are, I've got an easy way to heal anything that ails you, and it's all from Mother Nature. If you're suffering from constant stress or issues with menopause, prostrate, respiratory problems, IBS, psoriasis, and eczema, or even sleep issues, then Mother Nature's miracles are waiting for you. I know this works because I have resolved my health issues in 2018 using Dr. Tony Camacho herbal tinctures, and I have never felt better. These herbal products really do work. Instead of using toxic medications, try these organic herbal products and you will experience some amazing outcomes that Mother Nature intended since the beginning of time. Go to drtonycamacho.com to buy pre-made tinctures or to set up a consultation in which she can make a tincture specifically for your ailment. Go back to Mother Nature and Dr. Tony Camacho. Visit drtonycamacho.com. That is drtonycamacho.com. Well, welcome Deborah Lucero to Law of Attraction Talk Radio. I'm so happy to have you.
Oh, I'm so excited, Jules. All morning, I've just been so jitterish, but just so excited. So thank you.
My pleasure. We're going to have a good time, especially because you wrote a really, really terrific book, but the title is something that you normally can't spell out.
Right.
So it's like be the best. No, give me the title.
It is Be Effing Amazing, 70 Healing Insights to Live Your Full Life.
Okay, so why did you name it that?
Well, I usually have 3 reasons why I did that. And the first one is, I have to admit that the F word has been my favorite word most of my life.
Okay.
And the second reason is I actually received spiritual guidance from Melinda Vale. She is a medium. And she said, go with the hot title. So I did. And then the third reason is I thought, you know what? If Tony Robbins can curse, why can't I? So there you go. That's how it all came to be.
Okay. And you know what? It is a really common word in the English language now.
Yes.
It's like everybody is saying it. So it's like, okay, yeah, makes sense. Now's the time to break it up and make it not so naughty, but just part of the human speech.
Yes, exactly. And I think I used it to really put emphasis on, I didn't want to just tell people and show people that you can be amazing. You can actually be effing amazing. And that's why I used it.
That is so wonderful. So tell us the secret. How can you be so effing amazing?
Well, what I found is that I was at a point in my life where I didn't have any real coping skills, and I was frustrated and I felt stuck and disgusted. and I just didn't know what to do. And as I started on this journey of self-development and self-improvement, I realized I was totally doing things wrong. And I was, just rejecting who I was, and I was not nurturing myself, and I was not honoring who I was, and I was not just caring for any part of my being. And I realized that I needed to learn how to live a full life. And as I just immersed myself in the self-development field, I realized I needed to nurture my mind, body, soul, and spirit. And I created a 5-step process to do that.
And I want to go into those steps, but I also want to comment that I think that's part of the human experience, to get to that lowest point where it makes you decide, this is where I've got to change. I've got to go down another road. And you are using that to help other people, because we all go through that.
Yes.
Men and women, everybody goes through it. So
yes.
You are just helping them to understand what it is, the process of getting through that, because it is a road less traveled, but it's time at any time in life you can be affected and have to do that. So
yes, that is so true. And that, I think, is my message, is that I don't want anybody to feel as hopeless and as helpless as I did. And it doesn't matter what your situation is right now, it can and it will get better. And there's ways to do that. And probably the very first thing is just realizing that your mindset has a huge, huge, huge difference. If you really shift your mindset to abundance, rather than thinking, oh, I'm sick, I'm broke, I'm stuck, I'm miserable, it really does start changing everything in your life. And that's probably the main focus of everything that I'm doing.
So what is the first thing that you have to change in order to stop thinking the way that you're thinking?
Well, for me, I think the first thing that needs to take place is that you need to detox. And that is step 1 in my 5-step process. And you just have to detox from any false beliefs, from any old programming that you have, from any just really toxic relationships, if that's going on in your life. And just looking through and really taking a good look in the mirror and deciding, what is the dirt in my life? What do I need to clean up? Is it my attitude? Is it how I feel? And, just realizing what needs to be flushed away. What emotions are still stuck in my heart that are just lagging me down? And what events are holding me back that I just can't get over? And just kind of getting over all of that and realizing what you're putting into your body. And not just food, but thoughts. And even just what other people in your environment are putting into your body, their thoughts and their intentions, because we pick up on mood. And all of that comes into play on how we end up getting stuck.
So how do you discover? I know a lot of people just don't even know where they're stuck. They just are in that terrible place. So how do you determine what are the things that you're stuck on?
I think the best thing to help you realize that what's really keeping you stuck is that critical voice. And, everybody has one. We wake up every morning and what do we hear? Oh, I better hurry up. I'm so lazy, I can't get out of bed. I'm a procrastinator. I have to hit the alarm 3 times before I actually get up. I need to go to the gym, but I just don't feel like it. I'm just, not very disciplined. So those little comments that we hear every day, that we tell ourselves every day, those are the things that are getting us stuck. It might be tied into events or more deeper emotions that I mentioned. You might have to, an appointment and things come up that you remember. oh, I'm not very good at explaining myself to doctors, or, oh, I have to go visit my family today and I just am not good at relationships. So that is telling you right there, oh, those are issues that are coming up. But instead of realizing that there's something to do with that, we just kind of fester it, and it just sits with us day in and day out. And that's
Yeah.
where it pulls us down and makes us
It's
sick.
kind of like you want to hide those issues too from the rest of the world. You don't want them to find out about it because
Exactly.
you're going to be the only one that knows how lousy of a person you are.
Exactly. And that's it. We just stuff our emotions and stuff our emotions until they do make us sick. They actually do. You know, our thoughts and our emotions, they just kind of fester, and then all of that energy gets stuck, as you know how the chakra systems work. And then we start manifesting physical symptoms and ailments and diseases. It's not just, oh, I feel the tightness. You end up with asthma and allergies and heart problems from all of that. So
Right.
I think it's just really taking a look in the mirror. And I remember marching into my living room in 2014. It was probably like May or June. And I marched in there and I told my husband, I said, you know, I hate my life, and I am tired of who I am. I hate who I have become, and I don't want to live this way anymore. And so I kind of just declared that, you know, I had just had enough. I woke up that day and I just thought to myself, you know, this is enough. I have had enough of the way I feel, the way I think, and the actions that I play out every day. And so I just started trying to figure out what to do. And everything just kind of fell into place for me. My oldest son actually had recommended that that my husband and I both read Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 2010. And I started reading the digital copy, but I was in such a place of lack. I'm not kidding you. I really was born into the mindset of lack and the scarcity mindset. I did not know what the mindsets were until 2014, when I actually decided to read further along in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki's book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could clearly see where I fell and where my family fell for generations. And I thought, wow, that was an eye-opener. And the same year, my son asked me, do you know what the law of attraction is? And this was my response. I said, is it where opposites attract? And he didn't laugh. He's very, very kind, like my father. And he said, just Google it. And so I did. And I found out so much more, you know, than I could have bargained for. So as I said, so many things started coming into play. I started reading books. One of the first books was The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, that is an amazing book. And that taught me how to forgive. So then I just continued on my path. So my 5 steps include detox, releasing emotion, mindset, reprogramming your mind, and exercise and physical activity. And that's kind of what I did. I just started detoxing, releasing the emotion. I found in 2014 emotional freedom techniques, tapping meditation, and I started doing that. And then I started changing my mindset to an abundant mindset. I started reprogramming my mind and realizing that I needed to be in a mindset of gratitude. And then I started adding the exercise and the physical activity, more so for all the list of diagnoses that I had, and the aches and pains, and from the fibromyalgia and interstitial cystitis, and from irritable bowel syndrome and allergies and asthma, and just a multitude of everything that was bothering me. I felt broken, and just hopeless and helpless.
So how long did it take you to go through the steps or determine what the steps were? Did you take everyone in the precise order that you wrote about in your book?
I think that I kind of did them together. I
Ah.
really think that they were coming together because I was detoxing. What I did is I started Dr. Mark Hyman's The Blood Sugar Solution 10-Day Detox in October of 2014. That same month, I received an email newsletter from him that had a link to Nick Ortner and the tapping solution. So I did a webinar with my husband and we started doing that. And then I started listening to those other audiobooks that I mentioned, and I just immersed myself. I also had inspiration from a physician's assistant at my allergist office, and she sat down with me, and she had, you know what is so strange, she had very similar symptoms that I did, and she had just gone back to work, and I have that all in my book. And she said, I see the hope in you. I see that you can still get better. And that was so touching to me, because at that time in my life, I had no hope, not even in myself. And so she recommended the 10-day detox diet. And so I started that. And then I started doing little teeny bits of yoga, like 5-minute yoga routines. I kid you not, because I was so fatigued and so tired and just so worn out. And I was in so much pain that that's about all I could handle. So I just started doing it all together. And it took me from 2014 until probably 2017 to realize what the steps were.
Ah.
Yes. I don't think that I was that conscious that I knew I was doing this so intentionally. It was just happening and coming into play. And I didn't get in the right awareness until about 2017, the
Isn't
fall.
that something? You know, they always talk about people have to hit rock bottom, and
Mm,
they're always associating that with alcoholism or
right.
drugs or something, but people don't realize that it's every day without those dramatic one thing that stops them moving forward. It happens to everybody,
Mhm.
and thank goodness for that.
Yes.
Because if it didn't happen, where would we be? I mean, we really are learning. Each one of us has our story,
Yes.
and you wrote it out in order for you to share it with the world. And it's like people can sit back and say, "Ah, yeah, okay,
Mhm.
that's me. I know these are the things I need to do." So you're making people's lives easier. But again, it happens to every single person. It's part
Yes.
of the human experience that we're supposed to go through.
Yes. It seems that way. It seems as if we don't get it until it's right in our face.
Right.
It
Yeah, it
seems like it
kind
would be so much easier, if we could come from a place of stillness instead of confusion and chaos. But I guess at some point, we just feel like we've had enough. There just has to be that line that's drawn in the sand.
I also want to state that it's not just for a person who has just, in other words, it just happened to me. And I've been in the law of attraction field for, 12 years. I've been
Right.
on the air. And so it just happened to me last year
Mm-hmm.
in order for me to take the detoxing, take all of the steps, because no matter where we are or no matter where we think we are, you
Mm-hmm.
know, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I know this stuff. No,
Right,
it's like
right.
the universe sends you a refresher course.
Yes. And I think we don't realize that everyday stressors, how they compound on our mind, body, soul, and spirit until we're depleted.
That's right.
And then what?
Yeah.
Where do you turn? What do you do? So that's what my process is. It's a step-by-step process to guide anyone that has been or is in the chronic stress response cycle. And to realize, because when you are in that cycle, you can't make good decisions. You're not clear. You're very reactive and
Yeah.
you're very emotional. It just kind of comes with all of that, just all of those chemicals that are floating around and being in your system every day.
Reactive is a good word because
Yes.
it's like all of a sudden you are spouting off and you're, why am I doing this?
Right.
And it's like you don't understand. So you do have the ticket in this book on how to get yourself questioning, working at it so that you can change your life. And once you do, oh my goodness.
Yes. And it really doesn't take that much, but because so many of us tend to be in that chronic stress response cycle and don't even know it, we're so unaware of it. We just stay there and we're just festering in all these chemicals and all these emotions and just being stuck. But if you can just, take this book and realize that there is a process and it's not that difficult, that you can start seeing those results very immediate, actually. Because if you think about it, I was born into a scarcity mindset. I had heard nothing of it until 2014. And I just threw myself in. And along with everything else that was going on physically, mentally, spiritually, I had to clean up everything. Finances were a mess. Relationships were a mess. My health was a mess. My emotions. But I started seeing the progress right along. Had I not been so at the bottom, I think it would have come sooner. But I mean, even still, I think from 14, we're 19. I wrote my first course in October of 2017. The second one I started in November. We released it or launched it in January of in 2018. Yes. And then I started the book immediately. And I finished it in 6 weeks. We sent it to publish. It took 6 months or so. We released it November 15th. So, I mean, there hasn't been that much time lapse, from when I first learned to actually applying it to my life, to being able to bloom and blossom and turn around and give this feedback of this is how you do it. It is possible to the world.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty amazing that it's been not so long.
Yeah, it's when once you get it, you take off. So let me ask, what you mentioned, scarcity
Yes.
belief. How did that happen? You were born into it. What was that like? Give us
Well,
your story.
I don't even think my parents or my grandparents or anyone, understands it. I don't know that they've ever heard of it. My father passed away when I was 23, so he never mentioned, as I said, I didn't run into it until my son mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But I think just with what I've learned in these past 4 years, 5 years going now, is that we're born into it. It is a mindset that we get programmed as we're children, as we're in school, as we're in college, as we go through life. And we don't realize that we're feeling scarce. We don't feel like we're enough. We don't feel like there's enough time. There's never enough money. There's never enough love. So we learn from the comments that we pick up through our parents and anyone that's around us, aunts, uncles, cousins, whether it's political affiliations, church organizations, whatever. So things like money doesn't grow on trees. I can't afford that. I'm not good enough to make the basketball team. Just different things that I didn't realize until I started this journey. Oh my gosh, no wonder I'm so screwed up. Look what I've been hearing all my life.
Yeah, well, one reason that you're so miserable because you couldn't see the upside of everything that was positive, because unfortunately we tend to look at what's wrong instead of what's right.
Exactly. And I do really emphasize that in my book. I have used so many thought leaders and their wisdom, and I reference it, with Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Bruce Lipton, and how the statistics show that yes, 80% of our thoughts are negative every day, and we're only present or conscious 5% of the day. 95% of the day is our subconscious running, and 97 or 98% of the time we're thinking the same thing we thought yesterday. Yeah. So no wonder we can't move forward. If we're thinking, oh, my life sucks, we get up and then we're thinking my life sucks again, and we think my life sucks again, then our life sucks.
Yeah.
It becomes the reality. But I didn't know any of those statistics. And then I also learned along the way that it takes 66 days to learn a habit, to create a new habit. And so I threw that in, and that's why I created 70 days, because I wanted to make sure there was enough time on average. Yeah, some people get it in 21 days, and that's great for the 21-day programs. But what about like me? I really feel like I'm a late bloomer. I probably need the 66 plus. So that's why I did the 70. I kind of rounded it up. I'm a Libra, so I like balance things. And it worked out where I give 2 weeks worth in my courses, because I also have courses, but in the book there's 14 subtitles or healing insights to each chapter of the 5-step process. And that's how I kind of laid it out and how I wanted it to come together, so that it could be a really good foundation of what needed to be looked at, with enough time to actually create new healthy habits. And so that's why I say I really talk about in the book how our brain and how our body work, and how, our cells, they hear everything we think. We don't even have to say it. That's from Dr. Bruce Lipton, and just all of the wisdom from Tony Robbins, and how, we need to appreciate so we can be in that gratitude mind state. And all the wonderful women that are out there that help with this message are in my book. Many, like Mary Morrissey, Carol Look, and Mary Ayers. The Ortners are in my book, both Nick Ortner and his sister Jessica Ortner. And the authors, so many of the authors that I've read, also James Van Praagh. I just saw the magazine back there behind you. It reminded me.
And
then I've been able to meet so many of these authors through the Hay House experience. So I'm not kidding you, I've just been on cloud 9 and then a little magic carpet these last few years.
Yeah. It is fun. It is fun, because when you say yes to the universe, really letting go of the control,
right,
and thinking that you have to be so perfect. Once you let go and let the universe, it's like everything starts to come, and at rapid speeds.
Yes.
So it's like, and I don't know if this just happens once in life. I think it happens about 3, 4, 5 times.
I think so.
That you get yourself into this hole, and you have to get out of it. And it's every time you do that, you get better for the next time.
Yes, yes. And I think those are those patterns, Jules, that I've learned now that I have an abundant mindset, and I've been able to really look at my life and pick it apart, is that we have patterns that the Ortners talk about, and Tony Robbins, and these BS stories that we tell ourselves, or that make us comfortable. And so we stay there, and these patterns kind of float around. For me, the financial issues were like floating around every 10 years or so. And I'd find myself, and I'll be like, okay, well, haven't I been here before? Haven't I learned?
Yeah. It's the financial ones that I think are really the godsends.
Yes, yes. They stop you in your tracks really quick.
Yeah, because the fear comes up. What am I going to do?
Yes, yes.
But that is so powerful, because it forces you to let go. And the moment that you let go and you stop the worrying, everything comes into effect. It starts going. It's amazing how that happens. But you've got to say, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that.
Yes. And then that's it. You have to completely surrender. And I talk about that in detail in my book and in my courses on why we're not able to surrender, the chronic stress response cycle, and then how we get over that. And that's by finding those critical voice statements, all of those things that are holding us back. And then I teach the emotional freedom technique, which is considered tapping meditation, and you tap on the acupressure points while you say the truth statements, or, you know, some people like to refer to them as false statements, but I think they're truth statements, or rather than negative, excuse me, not false, because they're where you're at. You know, my body hurts, I'm broke, I hate my relationship, you know, I'm sad, whatever it is. We need to be able to let that surface, but there needs to be a way to flush it away. And this has helped me process several deaths in my family that it took me until 2016, which was 23 plus years after my father passed away, to actually process his death and to actually feel okay about it. And had I not found tapping meditation, I probably would still feel so upset and just heartbroken. And James Van Praagh was also amazing in part of that healing when I went to the Hay House Live conference in 2017. So that's why I say so many things just fall into place. But I think what really stuck with me is that there really is a system. And that's what I found in so many of these books and these courses and webinars that I was taking. There is a system in place that every successful person has something in place to nurture their mind, body, soul, and spirit. And when they get away from that, then things kind of lack and they lag off again. So we have to keep it going. And that's what I think is most important, is to really show that there is a step-by-step process, there is a system in place, and you have to nurture all of your being, your entire being. You can't just work on your physical body.
So let's talk about the EFT for a minute, because
Sure.
the EFT, as you were stating, you have to put or tap in the negative things first of what you're really feeling.
Yes.
And then you move it to the positive statements.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like self-correcting it.
Yes, yes.
Right? So it's not like, and I know a lot of people, especially way back when it started coming out, a lot of people would say, oh, it's too negative. And it's like, no, I think I get it. I get it, because you have to tap where you are to get into it. And then you can bring in the positive statements. Otherwise, those positive statements are totally false.
Yes, exactly. And your mind is going to be saying, oh, no, I don't feel that way. I don't feel great. My body doesn't feel great. I don't look great. I'm not a millionaire, whatever it is. So yes, you have to start where you're at. And I think a lot of people mistake it that if you focus on those emotions, that you're holding on to them. And that's not the fact. What it is that you're bringing them to the surface. So that way you have to see the dirt. If you don't know what's bothering you, you will never be able to clear it away. You cannot detox it from your system. And then once you finally get through it, and it may take, quite a while to go through it, and then you can start tapping in that positive. Even if it's just, for me, Jules, I could not say the setup phrase, which usually ends in, I completely love, forgive, and accept myself. I couldn't say those three things because I didn't love, I didn't accept, and I had not been able to forgive myself.
So it's kind of like tapping for money too. And I've seen a lot of people tap for money and it works, but they couldn't get past the place that they're broke right now.
Yes, exactly.
And that feelings were stuck. And I think that's where you have to go from the negative and move it on through the positive.
Yes.
And that's what works. So you can do physical health, you can do headaches, you can do the flu, you can do grieving, you can do money, you can do any of these things. You're not stuck in just one area, but I think that's important for people to realize with EFT.
Right. It's not just for one thing. And that's what I realized. I started using it I did a financial webinar with Nick Ortner. It was on how to figure out, you know, what was holding you back, and you had to do your money story. And I actually purchased a year later his course, the 7 weeks to financial success and personal fulfillment. And that was probably the game changer right there. It just opened me up. And I realized it was working on everything. It was working on my relationships, my finances. It was working on how I felt. It was working on everything. And so that's what I just started tapping away everything. I was tapping away, you know, problems I had with my mom, and tapping away issues I had with my husband, and tapping away feelings I thought, you know, that I wasn't enough. I just started tapping. I still tap every day. Some days it seems like I tap all day long.
But you also do yoga, and yoga is a very big stress reliever.
Yes.
It really does calm you down and brings you back to the center.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about yoga.
Yes.
But even if you go for a long walk,
yes,
that will do it too.
Mm-hmm. And I think people are thinking, when I say physical activity and exercise, that they need to do this big hour of cardio. No, you have to realize where I was when I started doing this. My vitamin D level was a 10. It should be between a 30 and 100 for normal. I was so fatigued and so weak. I could barely get out of bed. And just a little bit of yoga, just a little walk, you know, just a little bit of movement. At first, all I was doing was rotating my wrists. I am an occupational therapy assistant by trade. And that's all I could do in bed, was rotate and do every joint just to get my synovial fluid moving for my fibromyalgia. That was my workout. That was it. And it was enough to help me to realize, oh, this works, instead of the 18 prescription medications I was on every day that were knocking me out. You know, I was on narcotics like gabapentin and morphine and Norco. It was just, it was clouding my mind totally.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. For me, I just never, I'm a type A personality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a workaholic.
Right. I'm with you, girl.
And I had to be, you know, so it's like, okay, I had to get to the point where I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
And ever since, I've been walking 3 miles every morning, just being outside at 6:45.
Wow.
It's like, oh my gosh. And I go with my neighbors and everything. And I just love it. It's my social hour.
Yes.
I feel good. I'm out in the desert, in the hills. Oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. But it's not a commitment. It's just now a love.
Well, that's what happens, is you look at it like, oh, it's a task. But then as you do it every day, and that repetition is what is helping to create those new programs, as Dr. Bruce Lipton says. And I comment about that in my book as well. So we have to get these things going on a daily basis so that we're not hating them. And as you mentioned, the yoga and even just walking, that deep breathing that we're doing is helping us to access the parasympathetic nervous system. And what I learned in all my courses from, you know, my occupational therapy education, is that is the part of the central nervous system that is in charge of healing. So if we're not doing that deep breathing, and we're not stimulating that vagus nerve, which is, you know, along the spine here in the neck area, we're not calming our body enough to heal. And I'm not talking about just physical ailments. I'm talking about emotional pain. I'm talking about spiritual pain. I'm talking about just being mentally overwhelmed, everything, financially burdened. And we cannot heal any of that if we're not in the right state.
Yeah. And I know people are listening, checking off, yep, that sounds like me. And it is. And really, it's not that difficult. And, you know, Bruce Lipton, we chatted a number of times, and he was talking about the adrenal glands and the constant drip on that and the stress. And you can't do anything. That's part of, you cannot physically, you know, sometimes it just takes the right kind of herbs, the right kind of correct medicine. And I'm going to be really pessimist when it comes to antibiotics. They
Right.
are not going to help you.
No, no,
I
no.
don't care. You may take them for a week, but it's going to hurt you in the long run.
Yes.
Go to Mother Nature.
Yes, yes. And that's where I was hurting myself. I was using the Western medicine system and that, thought, that way of thinking. And I just kept having more and more meds piled on. And I did the antibiotic thing. When my health started to crash in 2010 to 2011, I had 4 sinus infections in 5 months, Pam. And I had to be on antibiotics pretty much that whole time. So by the time my gut was trying to recuperate, it was just a mess, my gut health. And then my bladder started. I don't know if you've heard of interstitial cystitis, but it's a bladder pain syndrome. So you feel like you have a urinary tract infection all the time.
Oh.
And I started having blood in my urine, and then so just so many things. And I didn't realize until I started learning about the chakra system that the emotions are related to the symptoms that you manifest physically. And when you have anger, you have liver issues. And my liver enzymes were elevated, and they couldn't figure out why. Finally, my GI doctor said, before we go in and do a biopsy and go really deep, he said, let's do one more test. He said, I'm suspecting that it's the medications that you're on. And sure enough, as I started weaning off of them, my liver enzymes, but I think it was also because I was releasing the emotion. I was working a lot. Anger had been very strong in my daily life. I just was angry for a lot of reasons for a long time. And I just felt like I needed to be tough. And one way to be tough was to stay angry. And so I used it, I think, as a coping mechanism, which didn't serve me well, obviously. But all of those things, those emotions and how they fester in your body. So I think that I've tried to be very clear in my book and my courses to help people understand the connection between the mind and the body, and how we can trick the mind and the body, especially in the beginning when we don't know how or where to start. And that's the main thing.
So it always goes back to one thing. We have a choice.
Yes.
We have a choice to be happy. We have a choice to be miserable. We have a choice to be sick, or we have a choice to be healthy. So the question that you need to ask yourself, which way do I want to be?
Exactly.
And I think your book is showing and giving instructions that when people finally make that final decision that they're not going to live and suffer anymore, they're choosing happiness,
Yes.
and joy and abundance and everything, then you've got the ticket. They've got to get in that mindset first before they'll even look at picking up a book. But once you make that decision, books like Be a Effing Amazing come into your life, and you're going, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the answer from the universe.
Yes, yes. And I really feel that, I even say that on the back cover of my book in the synopsis, that it is the handbook to life, because I didn't know that I could even be happy. I didn't know I had that choice, and that I couldn't be happy unless other people were happy. I went through my life. I didn't learn that probably until 2015, that I didn't have to be miserable based on what people's moods were. Here I was trying to please other people, and if they weren't happy, then I thought it was my fault. And when I heard that on the Tapping World Summit in 2015, that I was not responsible for anyone's happiness but my own. I'm not kidding you, Jules. I marched in my bedroom and I told my husband, you know what? I'm not responsible for your happiness, and I don't care how you take it, because now it's off my plate and it's in your ball court. You do with it what you have to, because I'm going to be happy starting today.
See, that is a very, very, very huge statement right there. And
yes.
That's the point that we have to go. And it's really hard for mothers and their children, but sometimes you just got to say, I'm handing it over. It's
Right.
now up to you. It's off of my back. I hope that you'll be happy, but you've got to make that decision.
Yes, yes. And I just really try to show people that they, this is out there. I didn't know it, so maybe they don't know it either. Maybe they don't know that they can be happy with themselves, and so it's a lot of awareness. And I'm very honest, and bless my husband, I really had to thank him because this is really his story as well. I'm talking about all these things, and I put it all out there. It's all in my book about our relationship, and things that I tried and things that worked and things that didn't. But I want people to know that just everyone goes through this. But I think people are not realizing that so many of us are born into a scarcity mindset, so they don't even know what an abundant mindset looks like.
Yeah. Or
But this
feels like.
book this book will help you. And you can't manifest anything, first of all, without your health, as you said when I spoke to you in November. And then also you can't realize that you can draw this positivity into your life because it's what you focus on. And that gratitude and being grateful for future blessings. Everyone is going around thinking, oh, once I see it, then I'll believe it, and then I'll be happier, healthier, whatever. And that was where we were taught wrong. We have to believe it in order for it to manifest, in order to see it become a reality.
Yes.
And that's what the gratitude does. The gratitude gets you there. The giving, the donating, you're donating your time, helping other people. It helps you maintain that level of mindset, as well as journaling, because journaling shows you what is in your life, not what's missing, as Carol Look is, so beautifully tells us all.
Yeah.
So
it's very, very important. Well, this was wonderful. I wanted to get into a little bit more things, but, I think we covered it. And the most important thing of our talk together is making people realize that it's their choice to be happy or to be miserable, to be healthy or to be sick.
yes,
Everyone has the ability to make the decision and to change.
yes, that's
It's
so
that
true.
simple.
Yes, and the law.
Yeah,
Yes.
and your book has it, details, instructions. I urge everyone to go get it and just look for that amazing title. And please send them to your website.
Yes, you can go to deborahlucero.com, and there will be information there. We are also offering 1 month free subscription to my wellness plan. I have a monthly subscription where I add in information for recipes. I do tapping meditations. I have exercise videos and routines. I have an article. I usually do a book review. There's a monthly challenge. So I'm offering that for a month free. So come onto the website and sign up. Or you can also visit liveyourfulllife.com. And I have an array of courses. I have the 5-step process for fibromyalgia relief. I have the Healing Insight 70-day course. I have 9 yoga stretches for fibromyalgia relief. And again, the wellness plan, which is a monthly subscription.
Wow. So it's Deborah Lucero, Lucero.
Lucero.
Okay.
.com.
I don't know why. I guess I'm not Italian.
That's okay.
But say it one more time.
Deborah, DEBORAH, Lucero, LUCERO.com.
Okay. I got to work on my Italian. I promise I will do that. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming on. It's been absolutely wonderful. It's exactly what people need to hear to start the new year off right.
Yes.
The choice is ours.
Yes.
So
Thank you, Jules.
that's
I truly appreciate it. I'm so honored to be amongst the Law of Attraction magazine and all of the other authors and wonderful thought leaders that you interview every day.
No problem. And I want to remind everybody, go to Law of Attraction magazine, January 1st issue, and read Deborah's article. It's really, really wonderful. You're going to get some more great insights. So go check that out as well. So Deborah, thank you so much.
Thank you again, Jules.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another great show from Law of Attraction Talk Radio. If you'd like to comment on tonight's show, send an email to jules@loaradionetwork.com and have a great week.